So we were at the hotel in Port Campbell. It rained most of the night. And as we were leaving, we checked the weather forecast. It said there would be an opening in the weather at 7:30. So we wanted to try to capture that in one of our stops. We headed down to the bay where Fort Campbell or Port Campbell is, and we walked out in the rain and watched the waves come in. We decided to go up and around and do a little hike in the sprinkles. And we walked around, got some beautiful pictures of the port and just outside the port.
So we finished our walk of the trail, which they call a track, and we headed to our next stop on the Great Ocean Road, which was called Loch Ard. And we walked down to an area called Thunder Cave. We were the only ones there, partly because of the drizzle, but partly because we were going the opposite way that most tourists visit the Great Ocean Road.
So we started on the west and we're headed east.
Yes. And as we were approaching Thunder Cave, we could already hear the loud crashing noises as the tide was rushing in. The ocean was churning, so we were getting a great view, and we heard all of the noise from Thunder Cave as the water rushed in.
Just down the road from Lockhart and Thunder Cave, we stopped at Gibson Steps. They're famous for 86 carved steps that went down to the beach. And they were carved, I believe, about 100 years ago. Um, in the parking lot, there were people camping with their vans and they were making breakfast. And we decided that we'd go partially down the steps because coming back up after so much hiking that we've done, those 86 steps would have felt like 200 of them. So we stopped halfway down. We saw a beautiful rainbow and we got a glimpse of that.
So we headed to our next stop on the Great Ocean Road, which was Mate's Rest Rainforest Trail. This wasn't actually on our original plan, but had been recommended by Eric, the guy who had done our kangaroo tour at Anglesey the day before. It's located in Great Otway National Park. It's a cool temperate rainforest, and it was an easy 30-minute walk. There was a boardwalk the entire way under massive trees and ferns. The ferns were up above our heads. They were so huge. It was like being in another world. We felt like Jurassic Park without the dinosaurs. I think we were the only people there, except for at the very end, someone else came up behind us. So we kind of had the whole place to ourselves. It was definitely well worth the stop.
So as we left Mate's Rest, we decided we were getting hungry and we were going to stop at the next place for lunch, which was Apollo Bay. Robin saw a wallaby on the side of the road munching on lunch on our way there. And then we stopped at a pizza place that was not quite opened yet for food, but they were willing to serve us gin. So we said, well, we'll come back. And we walked down the boardwalk, saw cockatoos in the trees, and then had lunch at George's Fish and Chips and got some coffee over at Lolly's Cafe. George's helper was mad dogging Robin when she was trying to get some drinks from someone else other than that counter that we ordered at. And she created this big old line of people just waiting. Anyway, the place was huge, but most of the tables were reserved, so it must have been for a bus tour stop.
So we hit the road again, and just beyond the city of Lorne, we were headed to some waterfalls. Lorne was a beautiful town. I wish we had more time to explore there. There were all kinds of beautiful Victorian looking homes, and it was right on the bay. So unfortunately, we just drove through and saw it. We headed about 15 minutes out of town to a place called Erskine Falls. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It was gorgeous, but it was a strenuous climb with more than 230 awful steps. An amazing view, but felt like we were totally wiped out, especially me, on the way back up after seeing the falls.
So the car was supposed to be returned by 4 o'clock. We were there at 4:22, so Robin was a little concerned about that.
We're late.
And one of the things was that when we picked up the car, they said, if the car checks out, we'll give you a shuttle ride back to the airport. So luckily the car checked out and we got in the shuttle. We went back to the airport. There were no problems.
So we decided it would be a great idea to have dinner at the airport because once we got to the hotel, we figured it'd be really busy since the convention was going on. We found a place called Grilled, which was a nice idea, but poor service. The meat is all locally sourced, no preservatives. And they have this meat that they call Game Changer, which essentially is supposed to be environmentally friendly. The cows are fed seaweed, which leads to a reduction of methane up to 67%. Not sure who did the measurements, but that's what they advertise.
So we were done with dinner. We were a little bit tired, and we had our luggage. We were headed out towards to get a cab or an Uber or whatever, and there was this guy, Harry was his name. He was lurking outside the exit door, and he says, "Are you guys looking for a cab?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, so he ends up taking us across away from where the taxi cab line is, and we're going through there, and Robin and I are looking at each other like, "What's going on here?" So I was asking him a couple questions, and he conveniently took a phone call right at that time. So he's racing across with our luggage. He's got Robin's luggage, and he's racing across the street with it. And then he showed us that he said he was with Silver Service. I asked if we were going to be getting a ride with him or with someone else. He says with himself. So we got to his car, and he's still on the phone, and he says, I said, hold on. Let me see your ID card and let me see your business card. So he shows it to me. It's a limousine service that he's got, and he's so Robin's a little relieved in that I checked something out with him. But anyway, it was still a little strange, and he was pretty chitty chatty as we went. He came from Egypt as a teen. He came over to Melbourne.
So fortunately, the taxi was legit. We made it to the Pan Pacific Hotel. We got checked in. We got a Riverview room, which was lovely. As we were heading up in the elevator, we found out from some other Rotarians that we had missed the opening ceremony of the Rotary Convention that morning. And we dropped our bags. We rushed off to try to get checked in to the conference, but we'd already missed that. They'd closed for the evening. So we headed back up. And at the end of a long day, we were tired and ready to get some rest.